So, Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome to our second session by YuvEnsah. As you can see from the poster, today Siba and I are going to address and talk about how we can beat the COVID blues. Before we begin, I would like to mention that this is not going to be a lecture, but rather a discussion where the platform is actually open. Everybody here is invited to unmute your mics and switch on your videos and jump in to share your points or your opinion during any point of the session. Just a reminder that the session is being recorded. So if you're not comfortable with sharing your video or audio, you can always just type in your questions or opinions in the chat box below, and we can discuss that as well. There will also be polls throughout this session to make the session a bit more interactive and lively. So please do participate in them as well. Our main aim today is to create a community of people who can become stronger and more resilient to fight through this pandemic. Okay, so as we all know, we are currently in the midst of a pandemic, which was completely unexpected and literally changed our lives overnight. Especially now, in the past couple of days, you must be hearing about the new mutated virus which has appeared in the UK. And a lot of countries are going back to their initial days of imposing lockdowns and travel restrictions again. So I don't think this virus is going to go away anytime soon, unfortunately. We all had a lot of plans for 2020, but all our plans are on hold right now. I think the most important thing to remember is that everybody, every single one of us right here in this discussion, and everyone else is somehow affected by this pandemic in any small way or the other. They're definitely crazy times, but for sure, inshallah, they will pass. What do you think, Siba?
Yeah, definitely agree with everything that's been said. So I think what we've all come to recognize is that there's definitely a new normal. So, people, like, life still goes on. So people are still graduating, they're still starting a new work or university experience. So like throughout this all, like I think, as Saniha mentioned, it's important to really keep sight of your goals and yeah, try to understand, like, to make the most of what's going on. And the other thing is that there's lack of social interaction, physical interaction with other people. But of course, we have we've seen like increased use of social media and other platforms of such sort. So I think what we will cover in today's session is a bit of tips and tricks as on how we can basically tackle this new normal. And yeah, and basically not wait for COVID to get over before we continue on with our life. So yeah, before we move on to our first section, we have a quick poll that we've prepared for you guys. So yeah, so if you can just take 2 minutes to answer this question, and then we'll share the results and discuss further.
The poll is anonymous, so we will not know who has answered it. So please feel free to be as honest as possible.
Yeah.
Also, if anyone wants to unmute themselves during the session to say something, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, also to turn on the video. I think this is one of the things, right? So when you're, because we can't meet in person, I think by turning on your video, you're basically being present. Of course, if you're comfortable. So far, we have 3 answers. I'll give you 1 more minute for the answering.
Has everyone answered, Siba?
Yeah, I think a few more seconds and I'll close the post.
Okay.
All right, the poll has ended, and here are the results. So you can all see what I'm seeing, I guess. So the first question is, how long into the future do you set goals for yourself? Majority participants have picked 3 to 6 months. But of course, there are some of you that set daily goals, weekly, monthly, and yearly. And then the second question is, which of the following activities have you started during COVID? So a lot of you have been learning new things, which is good to see, and like have done meditation, started a new hobby. So yeah, it's really good to see that there is a good variety of things. Um, so moving on to the next slide, we've just put together a few things which we thought you all can relate with. So in the top left, we have Dalgona coffee, and I'm curious, like who here has tried making it like throughout the lockdown? Has anyone had any experience? Who knew what it was before COVID started? I think that's what I'm curious to know.
Raise your hands, or you can type in the chat box or unmute yourself. Feel free. I definitely have. I was on this Dalgona trend as well, and I used to keep posting on Instagram all the time, but I've stopped that now. I think that was in the initial phase of the lockdown.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have someone who said she tried it. I personally have not, but it's something which I was always curious about, and I think a lot of people, like especially on TikTok, I think that's where the trend started.
Mhm.
And yeah, the obviously Zoom meeting. These were just some memes that I found, and I think it's very, like, for example, Zoom existed almost 9 years ago, but the first time I personally heard about this platform was this year. And I feel like it's become such a household name, right? Everyone, like even a tiny toddler, like is saying, "Oh, let's Zoom our grandparents" or something. And then the next picture is PE with Joe. So this person is basically a PE teacher in the UK, and he, during lockdown for a period of 4 months, every weekday, he would do a live stream of the workout. And he would wear these costumes, like here he's wearing a Spider-Man suit, but he would wear like a dragon suit or very, very crazy things. And he would do the full workout. And the reason he's wearing these suits is because his audience was mainly little kids. So he wanted to get them motivated, because it was true. Like, we were all staying at home and trying to really minimize our interactions with people. So definitely, there we've seen instances where the community has been coming together, and then yeah, in the left, right, bottom, there's a game that I have not tried, but I'm sure many of you might have gotten a chance to play, Among Us. So yeah, I think these were just, so the goal here was mainly to show that there are, obviously with this, people have started to make the most of these circumstances. And if you, yeah, moving on to the next slide, some people have used this time to really perfect what they've learned before. So whether it's like cooking or coding, or something that they really want to start learning. So this quote was from the book Atomic Habits, and it says, "When you fall in love with the process rather than the end product, you don't have to wait to give yourself permission to be happy." And what that means is, like, rather than focusing just on the final goal, it's important to enjoy each step of the way. So it could be like taking the example of workout, maybe every day, like you set aside 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then slowly you can build that up. But the main thing is to get started and to be consistent with it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think moving on to the most heated up topic is one thing which I definitely noticed during this whole lockdown period was I was constantly attached to my phone 24/7. And the fact that we're all actually working from home or studying from home, and the fact that we can't meet our friends and family as easily as we could before, means I think we are getting more and more connected or glued to our devices almost all the
Mhm.
time. How are you, Siba, in this? How many hours per day, on average, would you say you spend time on your phone?
Well, I wouldn't want to share it, but I don't mind sharing it anonymously via a poll. So let's ask the audience this
Okay,
question.
yeah. So we have a poll here, and let's just answer this. I think we'll have a lot of interesting answers, just to get an idea of
Mhm.
how much time we actually spend on our phones, you know?
Mhm. And don't worry, it's anonymous, so we won't know how long you're spending. I think there's also this app. I know they have it with the iPhone. It's screen time, so you can actually track your daily hours.
Hmm. Are we done with the poll?
Um, yeah, let's give them maybe 10 more seconds,
Okay.
15 more seconds.
I think the results will be interesting because honestly,
Mhm.
before I started tracking my usage, I used to think I just spend maybe less than an hour on my phone. And it's only when I actually installed the app, I realized that I spend way more
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
So I think people are
Yeah.
not really aware of that, but hopefully this, makes us more aware of the aspect.
Mhm. Okay, so I've ended the poll, and here are the results. You can talk
Wow.
us through them.
Yeah, so it's great, like not great. I mean, it's kind of astonishing to see that the majority of the people do not track your daily screen time. Very good,
Mhm.
because I was one of them as well. And then it's only very recently that I actually started tracking my screen time, and it has so many advantages as well. And it's interesting to see that majority of the people spend between 1 to 5 hours on their phone, and there is a percentage of people who spend more than 8 hours as well. And it's a bit sad to see that there's nobody who spends less than an hour on their phone. So I think the minimum people do spend on their phone is at least an hour. And if you think
Mhm.
about it, maybe around 10 years ago, this is not the situation. People would spend maybe what, a couple of minutes on their phone every day. So I'm just going to show you some interesting statistics here. 60% of the college students in the US consider themselves to have a cell phone addiction, and 77% of parents feel that their teenagers get distracted by their devices when they're together. So if you see these numbers, they're all above 50%. They're all above half of the population, which is quite extraordinary. Like, it's not something which we expected. Another study actually said that the average person spends around 3.5 to 4 hours daily on their phones. You might think that's a small number, but just to put it in perspective, you have 24 hours in a day, and you should be sleeping for 8 of those hours, and you should be working for 8 of another hour. So that's 16 hours. And that leaves you with another 8 hours to spend with your family, to look after your health, to eat, to drink, to pray. And in those 8 hours, if you spend 3 to 4 hours on your phone, I mean, that's quite a big chunk of time which we're actually just wasting, mindlessly scrolling through all the different apps which we have. And I'm guilty of this as well. I think we all are guilty of this to some extent. I think the most important thing which you have learned from the poll is try to use a phone tracking device or a time device. I think, like how Siba said, Apple phones have these installed in them already, but I have an Android, so I actually had to download another app to see how much time I spend on my phone every single day. And I think another important thing which we need to do is when we are on social media and mindlessly scrolling through it, try to take breaks in between or try to use social media intentionally. Don't just come to Instagram or Snapchat or WhatsApp when you're bored. Try to develop other hobbies or activities to actually indulge yourselves in when you're bored. And another important thing to remember is whatever you see on social media, do not compare yourself to that. People just portray the best or the good aspects of their life on social media. And we as humans, we have the tendency to compare the negative things or, the bit bad things of our life to the positive things of the lives of the people on social media. And this is not a fair comparison. I think the only person you should be comparing yourself is yourself. Compare yourself with the person you were the day before and the day before. Compare yourself with the person you were a year before and see how much you have improved and how much you have achieved. Never compare yourself to any blogger or influencer or anyone, even if it's your own friends or classmates. They're all having their own lives, they all have their own directions to go to, and you have your own direction as well.
Mhm.
What do you think, Siba?
Yeah, very, very wise words. And just to add on to what you said about like not using social media mindlessly, I found there are two things that I found really helped me personally. So one of them is taking a break, as you said, but like that might even be deleting the app, the guilty app from the phone. So whether it's Instagram or Twitter or any of these apps which we find ourselves just spending, I don't know, like more than 2 hours in a day, I think it's really important to reevaluate and kind of know your boundaries. And the other thing, so this again, this tweet is something which I came across, and it was really funny because as someone in the tech field, maybe this is relatable to everyone, but basically the big screen is referring to the TV, the little screen is a mobile phone, and then the medium screen is a laptop. So yeah, like you realize how much screens we have, and like technology that we use every single day. So it's really important to yeah, to keep that in mind, and just not let technology control you, but you control your time. And the second tip is to use to follow useful accounts. So for instance, I can maybe pick out like 5 to 10 accounts on Instagram which I find useful and I get useful information. So for instance, like maybe it might mean muting the rest of the stories, rest of people's accounts, or follow less people, so that you're actually like you're making, you're not wasting time, right? You're gaining useful information maybe, or yeah, you're basically, I mean, I know people use social media to relax. It can still be relaxing. You could have an account that makes you laugh, so you can still follow that. But the idea is to not, you know, click through everyone's stories and then reach the thing that you really wanted. You got on social media for. And I think the final point that I wanted to say is, obviously, in today's world, everything is online. So the pro with that is that it's easier to keep in contact with people. And I mean, if you imagine this pandemic happening maybe 15 or 20 years in the past, the situation would be so different, because we might not have good internet connection, or Zoom, or like remote solutions. But the con is obviously that we have all of these screens in our lives. So yeah, hopefully by using these tips, we can be more mindful of our time.
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
definitely. So I asked the audience if to share which app they're most addicted to on their phone. I haven't got any response. I think people are a bit embarrassed to say, because I'm personally addicted to Instagram. I know that Siba, you're addicted to it too as well, because I constantly get your DMs every other hour. So
Oh.
yeah, I think it it depends on each generation.
Mhm.
So I think the next thing which we need to talk about is travel. I think one of the hardest things we had to give up this year was definitely traveling. Travel restrictions and quarantine rules still exist in majority of the countries, which has made travel so much more difficult for us. Because of this, a lot of people had to cancel a lot of their events, a lot of vacations, travel plans, holidays, weddings. Many of them had to postpone engagements, bridal showers, etc. And interestingly enough, a lot of these events are now happening online. So like you said, because of all this technology we have nowadays, we can actually hold a lot of these events very virtually. I myself, I had my graduation ceremony virtually a couple of months ago, and I've already attended a couple of virtual weddings so far. I think we should have a poll now to ask people if they've attended any online events. Siba, can you just share the poll?
Yes, this is a quick one. So I'll give you guys 30 seconds or 30
If
seconds.
any, if anyone wants to share their experience of how they had attended an online wedding, please feel free to do so if you have some extraordinary examples or situations or opinions. Please feel free to share them with us.
Yeah, either in the chat box or you can unmute yourself and say it.
Yeah. Are they done with the polls?
Yeah, 10 more seconds and then we can. Okay, so I'm gonna share the results.
Okay, so 91% of the people have had to miss important events this year. That is amazing. That is, I think, the majority of the people here have had to miss an important event. And it's interesting to see that 73% of people have actually attended an online or Zoom wedding as well. And I'm assuming that this is how you guys were when you were actually watching the Zoom wedding. I mean, it's like it's something which we never thought. You know, just a couple of months back, before the pandemic started, we never thought we would be attending weddings virtually online through a screen. But it is happening now, and to be honest, we should be thankful that the pandemic happened in such a time when technology is so advanced and we can actually attend people's weddings from any part of the globe. Okay, so someone has commented that inshallah we'll have to attend a close friend's wedding via Zoom soon. I mean, you don't need to have that sad face. I think it's a happy thing, you know. You get to be part of your friend's special day, even though you're not there physically. You are there, you know, spiritually with her. I mean, from far away. So I think try to see this in a positive aspect. And if any of y'all here have had to postpone your weddings or any important events, just think of it as it's just a pause in your life, and you know things will get back to normal soon, inshallah. What do you think, Siba? Do you have anything else to add?
Yeah. So I've attended two types of weddings, I want to say. So one of them is just a live stream. I think at least maybe the two categories. So it's a live stream. So there are very few people, but they basically we can all join them for the event. And then the other category is a Zoom wedding, which is basically it's even smaller, I would say, but we get to like I feel like there's greater interaction between people. So the couple can actually speak with the guests, and you know it's very different, but it's very interesting to see these kind of be part of these sort of moments. I would say. Um, I guess the other thing that travel has affected is obviously vacation. You know, travel for the summer or spring break and stuff. So I think like what I've been doing is I've been learning a new language in order to be able, like, in order to prepare myself to travel to X country. So, for instance, at the moment, I'm learning Russian because a friend had shared with me that she wanted to take the Trans-Siberian Express, which is basically a train that goes from Russia all the way, it crosses Russia all the way to North Korea or Korea. I forget which, north or south. Um, but yeah, it's basically like a very interesting experience. And in Russia, obviously, you speak Russian, so yeah, I think I know a few other people who've started to learn a new language just because they have the time to. This connects back with our initial point on setting goals. So it could be like a daily a lesson that you do every day in preparation of that. If people have anything to add on this as well, feel free to unmute yourself or share in the chat box. And I think one final point that travel has affected is, when people, obviously, COVID is a disease that has taken a lot of lives, and so people have had to miss their close ones' funerals. So they aren't able to travel to visit or pay their respects. So I think what this pandemic has also shown us is to value or yeah to value your relationships and basically like keep more connected during this time.
Yeah. So I think speaking about relationships, we're all suffering with that a lot now because a lot of us are staying away from our families. A lot of children are staying away from their parents or your friends, and you're not able to travel easily to meet them. But I think we are connected in a lot of ways nowadays because of all the technology that is available, either through Zoom or through WhatsApp or something like that. So we have another poll here to see how often you actually keep in touch with your family and just to have an idea of, yeah. So just answer this poll and I think we can discuss after that.
Okay, I'll give half a minute more.
Mhm. Let's share the results.
Yes.
Okay, so it's interesting to see that majority of the people do keep in touch with their loved ones daily. A couple of them keep in touch few times a week, few times a month, and it is a bit sad to see that some people do never keep in touch with their loved ones. I'm assuming this is maybe because you're living with your family, so maybe there's
Mhm.
you're already within the house, you don't need to video call anyone to keep in touch with. And it's very, very nice to see that the majority of the people have actually felt that the lockdown has strengthened your family bond. So this is another meme which I just saw online and I wanted to share. So I remember in the beginning of the lockdown and when people were starting to work from home or study from home, the first reaction was people were kind of scared. They were like, how will I survive with my family 24/7? Husbands and wives who are usually away at work majority of the day now were confined to their homes the whole day. But you need to see this from a very positive perspective. The fact that families are at home together now has given so many families the chance to strengthen their bonds, which is very evident from the poll results, which we saw now. Especially for working parents, they're getting to spend a lot more time with their kids at home now. And I know that a lot of families have engaged in a lot of activities during this lockdown period. They're sharing their household chores. A lot of families are going for walks daily, or they're playing games, they're watching movies, something which people did not really do when lives were normal. So, in a way, you can say that because of this pandemic, family members have been brought closer together and the family bond has definitely strengthened. And even if you are staying away from your families, always use technology which is available to us, such as Zoom or other video calling apps or WhatsApp, to keep in touch with your family regularly so you feel that you're not missing out.
Mhm.
Do you have anything else to say,
Yeah.
Siba?
Yeah. I think just to give a different perspective on that, I was looking at into some stats, and it was found that one study showed that 8% of people said that lockdown has made them realize they needed to end their relationship. But on the other hand, there were 43% who responded lockdown has brought them closer. So I think what's clear from this is that COVID does have has had an effect on relationships. And I think it's also because maybe people might not have spent so much time together, in because life was just really busy right before lockdown started. So and also like trying to balance work and life, especially if there's like if they have children who are studying from home, and the parents are working, and so there's it can get chaotic. So yeah, I think there's also this new term, which is called phobia, which is fear of being included. So it might be the case that you're as individually you're very being very careful during the pandemic, and when you get an invite for something, it could be a birthday party or something like that, you don't want to go because you don't want to put like those around you at risk and stuff. So it's a very interesting obviously it's a very new situation that people are being faced with. So I think we've covered like many aspects of the personal development. So I guess we can move on to professional development. And yeah, so we do have a poll question just before we get started. I'll just launch that. It's our final poll of the evening. And yeah, single question. So yeah, the section is called professional development, but of course it includes school / college / recently graduated / working. So yeah, we couldn't find one word to include everything. Okay, just 10, 15 more seconds, and then we'll share the results. All right, so these are the results. So it's very, I see there's like a very, it's kind of distributed across everything. So there are, yeah, so I guess I can say that there's majority students who are in the school. Okay, wait. Okay, I can do quick math. Okay, so basically there's a good mix, right? So there are people who are working from home, working or sitting from home, and studying or working at the office. And there's also a few of you who have both blended learning, which means they go to the workplace or school some days and they're at home in the other days. And I think in general, what COVID has kind of shown us is, as I mentioned at the beginning, there's a lack of social interaction with colleagues. So I did speak with a few friends who were currently taking classes, and they said that they have group projects, but they don't get a chance to socialize with their group partners outside of work. Because it's actually quite interesting, because like you're already having so many Zoom calls because of work, like work related. So then having another Zoom call just to relax kind of seems, like it just feels like too much. So I think it's the problem with too much video calls or too much tech use. And I think also navigating online learning or work from home is the fact that there are new social cues that we need to get comfortable with. So for example, back when school was open, like, when the period, when the class is about to end, you'll hear people like closing their textbooks and, putting their books in their bag, getting ready for the bell to ring, and then they'll just run outside. I've had this a lot in my school. And I think with online video meeting, you don't do that anymore, right? You're at home and you're basically, yeah, there's no like separation of like work and kind of home, yeah, work and home. Yeah. So I think this is, so it was very interesting to see that people started waving when they were ending a Zoom call, which is really weird, because if you think about it, if you're in a classroom, do you ever wave at your teacher? Like, no. right? So I think, yeah, it's quite interesting to kind of observe these things, but I think the important thing is to make sure you have a boundary between your work and your home. So maybe it might be like a space in your house or a table that you like, that is where you work, and then you don't work anywhere else, or you maybe set like a time for yourself that, okay, after um, I don't know, 9 p.m. I'm not gonna work. I'm gonna like relax and then go to sleep and then start again the next morning. So they're just small things like this, which I think is important to do, so that you can maintain your, yeah, like a semblance
Work-life
of life,
balance. Yeah.
right? um, mhm. I think that's all I had to say on this.
Okay. So this is just this interesting meme we saw, I think, which everybody can relate to. It's
Mhm.
self-explanatory. We don't have to explain it. Just something to make it light. Okay, so moving on to another topic which a lot of people have gone through nowadays is if you are a recent graduate. So if you've just graduated recently, or if you have, if you have recently been laid off from your job, these are just a few statistics to show you how the COVID-19 pandemic has actually affected the employment rates in the world. There's been a 17.3% decline in working hours, and the unemployment has actually caused a $3.5 trillion loss, global labor loss,
Mm,
which is quite a big amount. And another study actually predicted that because of the COVID-19 crisis, around 195 million full time jobs, people will be out of jobs. So if you are one of those people who is currently unemployed now, this is just to remind you that you are not alone. A lot of people have lost their jobs, and the statistics here just prove that it's 195 million people. You are not alone, so do not lose hope. Just remember that this is temporary and it will pass as well. Just because you got laid off from a job does not make you a failure. Rather than being sad or depressed during this time, try to make use of it and be constructive. A few ideas would be try to update your CV so that once you actually start applying for jobs, your CV will be perfect, or learn new skills which is related to your career, related to your job, or even do a lot of online courses. A lot of websites nowadays offer so many online courses from different universities like Coursera, Udemy, etc. And many of these websites offer courses at such discounted rates. And I remember that there was a phase at the beginning of the pandemic where everybody was just online and doing these courses and they were sharing their certificates on LinkedIn. And it actually does make an impact when you apply for jobs. Your employers will look at it and they might prefer you over someone else who has not learned these new skills during this phase. Prepare for interviews as well. I think the new normal nowadays is that a lot of interviews are going to be done virtually through online platforms like Zoom. So try to prepare for those. There are a lot of resources available on YouTube or on the internet, which actually help you to prepare for these interviews. I myself have attended a lot of these interviews, which was done virtually, and they're not the same as a traditional interview where you have a face-to-face employer meeting. It's completely different, and there are a lot of things which you have to keep in mind. So just improve yourself in these aspects and areas, and keep reminding yourself that this is just a temporary phase. The pandemic will die down soon, inshallah. The vaccines are already on their way, and you will get a job soon, inshallah. So I think this was the last point which we wanted to cover. We are going to have an open platform now. If anybody wants to discuss something, if they want to raise some interesting points or share their opinions or views on something, please feel free to do so. You can unmute yourself, switch on your videos, or you can even chat in your type in your chat box.
mhm.
I hope you guys have learned something interesting from this session. So, does anybody want to
Yeah.
share anything?
Mhm. I just wanted to add, there was like on the last point that you said, I think what employers really want to see now is that you're adaptable, or that you've basically, you know, tried to do something with your skills, and not necessarily like, I mean, yeah, because I know like it can, I think the main thing is because we're all going through this. They understand, they're human being as well, so they understand that there might be struggles. I know people who are currently taking a gap year, just because for them maybe the fact that being in, like for them maybe starting university means like being like physically in the place, so they kind of want a bit of that. So I guess the hope is that hopefully, inshallah, by next year they would be able to go back. But there's so many things like, for instance, this YuvEnsah, like this organization that we started. I don't know if it weren't for COVID, if we would actually have had the time or I guess the motivation to do it. And I think it's kind of, I feel like we've been talking a lot, so I will let the stage, let it be open for the audience, if anyone wants to unmute and share. How was it for you?
Well, I don't think anybody has shared anything in the chat box yet.
Not everyone at once, just one at a time.
I mean, the fact that we have a small group of participants was for this purpose, so that we could have a little more interactive session. So please, somebody. Okay, so I think we'll move on.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is it for today's session. Thank you so much for listening. I think Siba has something to say about the feedback form.
Oh yes, we will be sharing a feedback form by email, or we can share it now in the chat box.
Yeah, just share it in the chat box right now. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, we're still here in case anyone wants to say something.
You can always contact us through our Instagram page at YuvEnsah. We're actually looking for speakers to join our sessions to convey various aspects. So if you are interested in participating in one of our sessions, please let us know. Yes. So we have. Yeah, it's true. Many industries are looking towards a new direction. So I think one of the new questions which people will ask in interviews, or which employers will ask in interviews, is, what did you do in 2020? They want to hear constructive answers, not the fact that, oh, I was working from home and I was bored and I was stuck on my phone all day long. That is not what they want to hear. They want to know how you actually adapted to it and made the best out of your situation. So definitely we need to try to make the best out of our circumstances we are in right now, which will hopefully make us better and stronger individuals for the future.
Yeah.
So Siba has shared the feedback form. Please take a minute to fill it out, everybody. It would be very useful for us to conduct our future sessions.
Are you sure nobody wants to say anything? I think we have plenty of time.
Hello. Assalamu alaikum.
Hi.
I just wanted to say that. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think the lockdown, especially in the beginning, really helped me to just slow down. Because like the workload from school was getting to be a little bit much, and when lockdown just came, I don't know, it just really helped me to just slow down and like reflect on improving myself. So in that way, I think lockdown was actually pretty useful for me. So I just wanted to share that.
No, that's really good. That's very interesting. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Definitely. I think a lot of people have actually used this lockdown time to start journaling their thoughts and feelings. I think Siba, you have started blogging a lot more during this time. It's given people a lot of free time. Yeah, it's given people a lot of free time to reflect upon themselves and improve themselves. So that's the thing. You shouldn't look at it from a negative perspective, like how Maria mentioned. You should actually see it from a very positive perspective and try to make the best out of the situation we are in right now.
Yeah, Mariam, do you mind sharing what are some of the things that you maybe started doing now that you hadn't gotten a chance to?
So I know like when I was younger, I used to read a lot, but somewhere along the way, I lost that habit, and like I was like reflecting on like how I'd like not even read one book in the past 1 year. So I know I've been trying to read. I'm also going on like walks in the morning, um, just to relax and take it one step at a time. So those are the two things that I've been doing.
That's great. That's great to hear. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great. I think the reading, I can definitely attest to that. I think it's kind of sad when you think about it because, when it's one of those things that's really important to kind of take through in your life, but then you just become busy with other things, and you kind of lose what was important to you. Yeah.
Okay. I
Okay,
hope everyone.
Assalamualaikum.
Yeah, walaikum salam, Minna.
Okay, yeah, so I'm pretty sure I have like a very different experience because I do initially when the lockdown started, I was in India. My parents stay in the UAE, so I was preparing for an entrance exam, and because of the whole COVID situation, the entrance exam gets postponed. I spent over 6 months like away from my parents. I'd actually taken a break here, so I was in India for the past 1 year, but I haven't stayed away from my parents for more than 3 months. I kept visiting them, and so the 7 months thing was like a very different experience because within 3 months somehow either they'd ask me to come over or I'd call them and be like, I can't stay anymore, take me over for a vacation. But then the lockdown, we had like no control over it because the borders were closed, no flights, travel bans. So it was a very different experience. But then I realized, I'm 19, so over such a long time I hadn't, we'd go back home for those summer vacations like 2 months, but I discovered so many new experiences here, spend time in my hometown. So that was like a really different experience, and I'm like really glad that COVID happened just for that. So much of new experiences. In terms of my entrance exam as well, I think that it helped in those terms as well. And a small added benefit, because of COVID, I'm enjoying like 4 or 5 months of break before college actually starts. So that as well, inshallah. So inshallah. I've got to say, COVID's got its benefits.
Yeah, exactly. I like the fact that we're all looking at it from a positive perspective. And I love how two of our participants already shared their stories, and they're so different stories. So that's the beauty of it. Every one of us is going through something, and every one of us has a different story to tell after the COVID pandemic. To personally share my story, I was supposed to get married in July. So my wedding got postponed, and it is still postponed. And I don't know when I'm going to get married now because of the travel restrictions mainly. My fiance is staying abroad and I'm in another country. So obviously, your wedding, one of the most important events of your life, getting postponed is initially I was like a bit disturbed. I was like, oh, I wish it didn't happen. But then I also started looking at it from a positive perspective, the fact that I got a couple of months to still be single, to work on myself and to make the best version of myself before I actually get married and share my life with someone else. So I think in that way, COVID has actually helped me discover myself a bit more and, make myself a bit more prepared before I jump into the boat of marriage. So if anybody else has any interesting stories to share, please go ahead and unmute yourselves.
It's me again. I feel like more than it being COVID, I think it was the lockdown that really helped everyone. Because, well, nobody wants a virus that kills people, but I think it was the lockdown that just helped everybody just relax. And just take a break.
Yes. Yes, definitely. Do you have anything to share, Siba?
Yeah, no, I was just thinking like it's actually quite humbling to think that it's a virus that's like so tiny. I don't know what the size of a virus is. If someone knows, it's your chance to put it in the comment box. But yeah, I think it's like something that we can't see with our bare eyes has caused like planes to be grounded and yeah, like everything that's currently happening in this world. So it's it really sometimes it's good to like zoom out and try to see like the big picture. Um, yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Yeah,
Okay,
so I guess we'll be here. Is there someone who wants
no,
to say something?
no, I don't think so. I think everyone's done. I hope everyone
Okay.
has filled their feedback form. I think we can wrap up the session now.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for listening, everybody. It was a pleasure talking here and sharing our experiences. And thank you, Minna and Mariam, for sharing your experiences as well. They were very interesting to hear. And please do contact us on our Instagram page at YuvEnsah for any further inquiries, or if you want to arrange a presentation or a session with us, please feel free to do so. So yes, I think that's all.